people are waking up to and realizing and finding their tribes that, hey, just because you're someone that wasn't even on that level, that frequency, and you're just in this like trying to be the best you, but you have felt all alone, surrounded by douchebags and assholes. They're all waking up realizing, oh fuck, I'm not the only one. I'm not alone, and there's a lot of me out there. There's a lot more. Tattoo guardians all over the world is waking up and uniting and come together, and all the so-called assholes or whatever, half of them just didn't know any better and actually are followers and are being taught and awakening to a better way themselves. Brothers and sisters, we can't thank you enough for all your love, your support, and your faithfulness. It's been brought to my attention, if you really want to do something to bless us, to thank us, apparently simply hitting the like button on YouTube would be more impactful than what I ever knew, let alone subscribing to us on YouTube if you're not already. And then over on Spotify and Apple, please leave us a review. All of your listening and your comments to us mean the world to us. And do us a favor and just hit like on YouTube and leave us reviews on Spotify and Apple. And we're going to continue to serve you with our whole heart. Thank you so much.
Hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Hip here, coming to you again with another episode of the Tattoo Guardians podcast. And I'm accompanied by my two co-defendants, Mr. Matt Klemmer and Mr. Joshua Carlton. I was driving back from Atlanta last night and was able to catch the recap because I am in the Everything I Know seminar that Josh offers, a particular group of students, and I missed out the first class, so I threw it in and was watching it and was having trouble getting on and was texting him, and then Nikki jumped in and said, hey, Josh is tattooing. And I was like, of course he's fucking tattooing, because like, why would he be resting? You know, he's fucking tattooing. So I didn't tell you that before we started recording, Josh, and I just appreciate it. And there you are again, you motherfucker, sharpening iron, you know, so thank you.
I appreciate it. I was excited to tell you guys, if you didn't know, I tattooed, I believe it has been 6 months. I tattooed Nikki last night. And I've never been more excited to tattoo. It was overwhelming. It's posted on my Instagram. Nikki's always been like really fascinated by tornadoes. And so it's like this really old picture kind of a woman, and there's a tornado creeping up behind her. The tornado's not finished. We got a lot of it finished, but about 3.5 hours in so far. I'm just, that's about as much as I can really do, 3 or 4 hours. So we'll finish it up next time. But check it out on my Instagram. I'm really happy with it.
And it sounds like a bitch and piece, except when you say tattoo a tornado, that sounds like a tornado. Like to try and tattoo a tornado, do it well. I've only seen a few. I've never seen one that's like totally impressive to me. And so immediately
now, the tornado part is just negative. Like
is what?
It's just like a negative of where the tornado is going to be. I mean, you can tell, but it's not. That's the part we didn't get finished.
And well, dude, I'm sure a Josh Carlton tornado is already fucking awesome. And I'm sure it being unfinished right now, I'd have a special love for it.
I'm really happy with it. It's actually one of my favorite tattoos I've done.
Come on. All right. Good. Then you can I think it's safe to say it's one of mine favorites too, then.
How long did you tattoo for?
Like 3.5 hours.
Hell yeah.
It's awesome. Opaques?
Yep.
Is that a dumb question at this point?
It's like a hybrid. I've been doing like, I really want my work to start having a little more of a natural look. So it's opaques, but they're like slightly watered down. And then I treat it like a normal black and gray wash.
Okay.
So I'm getting like the best of both worlds. You know what I mean?
Yes. And
I really like it.
Oh my God. Because he already mixes his own colors, his own tones, his own values, his own opaques, and now he's diluting them. Do you add your dilution to the caps, or you dip and then dip in a rinse cup?
I dip. I just find myself, I think from being a painter, I like to dip and move and like,
Me too.
Yeah, right. I want to feel like an artist. I don't want to have like, this is the exact solution I need for this tornado.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Me too. Dipping in and touching your rinse cup once and go hitting the skin and be like, oh, I need to touch it again.
That's why your work is so, I think that's why your work is so beautiful, because you're looking at it from an artist's perspective. One of the things that a lot of people might not realize is you've been tattooing like a painter forever. That's what attracted me to you, besides your, good looks.
Yeah.
But I was like, when I first ran into you, I was like, what the fuck? Who is this? This is an artist, So, and then you told me that you called your needles brushes and stuff. And I was like, yeah, we're doing a podcast someday.
Oh, I love it, man. Who did you tattoo yesterday?
It was Nikki.
That's what I thought you said. Yeah. And I wanted to confirm before I got even extra excited. Man, what a beautiful gift. It's like you guys almost broke a fast together,
Yeah, it did feel like that. I did it for several reasons. One, we found the picture. I went to a show, not a tattoo convention. It was like a oddities convention in Portland about 2-3 weeks ago. And there was a photographer there, and he's had these gorgeous pictures, and we bought a bunch of them, and that was one of them. And Nikki's just always had this fear of tornadoes, but also a fascination with them. And she just kept talking about how much she loved it. And I'm like, I would just be so stoked to tattoo that. And she was like, I would get it as soon as you felt like you could do it. And I've been feeling so good. I was like, well, fuck it, let's do it. Because my plan is to start doing one tattoo a week and see how that goes.
Yeah.
So it's like, let's tattoo you. It's been 6 months. And I did great. I mean, tired, but I could have gone 5 hours, I think, Yeah. We just took it easy to be on the safe side.
So good.
No back pain today or nothing,
So good.
Took me a minute. The first 15 minutes were intimidating. So there's this, she's standing in this wheat field, right? The woman. And I was trying to figure out the formula to get the wheat to look really believable. And it wasn't happening at first. And I was like, oh my God, Nikki's going to have this garbage tattoo on her. And I told everybody in my Everything I Know class, hey guys, I'm tattooing. I'm not going to be able to answer questions today. So they're all expecting to see it. And I'm thinking, oh my God, it's going to be trash. But 15 minutes in, I started remembering, and everything started feeling really natural. And to be honest, I think I see some progression. I really do.
Wow. Wow.
I've had a clear head for so long now.
What's that?
I've had a clear head for so long now that it's it feels new and shiny and exciting,
My God.
Do you ever notice when you take breaks, now I haven't taken an extensive break like you did, but when you get back into it, almost like your hands shaky?
Yeah. Until the machine was heavy.
Yeah. Or you just catch a rhythm and you're like, oh, okay. I got it. Yeah.
To be honest with you, as embarrassing as it sounds, it took me a second to wrap my machine the right way. I was like, how did I wrap this without it being dirty? Figuring out all the nuances,
Yes.
But
yeah. Oh my God.
I felt so good. It was a good day.
That's really so good. Beautiful. And I love it's I don't know, there's something extra and rich about hearing him say, obviously this whole story, this report is amazing, but just that glimpse from hearing him say, man, going from, I was scared as hell, I was nervous, it was foreign, I was like, how do I wrap my shit again? Oh yeah, and it took 15 minutes to remember, right? And then coming out the other side, realizing, having a measuring stick, and he said, to be honest, I see some progression, right? But what a beautiful thing to witness and to hear and experience. All of us artists in the world that struggle so hard with imposter syndrome and beat our own ass, but in our own journey to see lights of maturity and personal growth. Meaning Josh, as in his relationship with himself, had to progress and mature to be able to even spot his own progression and be mature enough to notice it and receive it and speak on it that's an honoring of himself, of his gift, just noticing it. And there's something to be said for that.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you noticing that. I'm very focused on, I want I want my tattoos to really start conveying emotion. And I think I've done that with this tattoo stronger than other tattoos. Like you can feel the wind, you know, you can feel the fear in the woman's face out in this field, and her hair is blowing around. And I just feel like it evokes emotion stronger than I have in the past. It looks like a little movie scene to me. You know?
I love it.
I just think it's my new direction I really want to push. So
Two things.
exciting.
One, I think it's great that he said, I want to start invoking emotion, as if he hasn't always his whole fucking career. But I love that he's the next level shit, right? For him to say, I'm going to almost like pivot in the direction of more emotion, that's like deeper and leveling up from the game he's already played in all of our perceptions, right? Like what print, Josh Carlton print exists that doesn't evoke emotion, right? So that's one. But two, Josh, when you were just explaining it the first time, let alone the second time when you gave us more detail, it was invoking emotion. And I don't know why I was left thinking, like, where's the light? Is it behind her? Is she more silhouette-y? Is it from the side or above to where we can start to make part of her out in her dress? Or
right, it's really dramatically from one side. So like half of her dress is black.
Okay.
Like which is fun. You know, that's what I preach so much. So it's funny because as I was doing it, I was like, oh shit, is this too much black? You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's like, has it been a while? I did my own pet peeve, you know?
Yeah. Oh my God. That's awesome.
Well, what do you mean your own pet peeve?
Well, I preach more black to just about everybody I talk to that tattoos, that wants advice. And here I am. You've heard me on this podcast kind of like tease Nikki about how, like, even though she knows it, she'll still not use enough black. And here I am starting to, when I was doing the dress, when it's just the black and she's wearing a fucking white dress, until it looks good, it looks like shit, you know? So instead of trusting the process, which would be my pet peeve of telling people, does the reference look good? If it's yes, trust the process. If you try to fix a problem that doesn't exist, that's where people go wrong. And they start making the dress black and they go, oh my God, this looks like shit. And then they try to fix it, right? So they're like, oh, well, I'll make my own wrinkles up. And all of a sudden, it doesn't turn
and call
out.
it custom. They gonna call it custom while they do
it. It's fire, bro. But I kept on. I stayed the course. I knew the reference looked good, and I knew if I could match it up, it will work. And you know what? As soon as I got that other side of the dress done, it worked. And I think she was, you know, it's very dramatic, and it needed that black to tell the story, you know?
So
it was,
good.
It was
You
neat
know,
to- go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say it was kind of
Jinx.
cool to walk the tightrope.
Well, I bet. And, you know, not even touching a machine for months on end, starting out, the rope's tight, right?
Right.
But it's probably good for our listeners to hear. I'm sure it's good for you to hear, even Joshua Carlton.
Well, yeah, because like literally not even 12 hours ago, I was watching the recap, and, you know, I'm not, without giving too much away, there's a teaching that he does on there, and he's got a rhinoceros, and there's like 3 stages of it. And like the whole time he's like, fucking don't be stupid and fucking put the black where it's supposed to be, dummy. And then, you know, I'm paraphrasing, of course, but he's pounding it into your head, like, just make the fucking areas that are black, and then fucking from there, then be kind of free and artistic with your midtones and light tones, and then get back to like strictness with your highlights. And he's got 3 examples of how he works in a tattoo and which one he bases his stencil off of. So it's cool because like he's sitting there preaching that shit, and he's like, yeah, I was just kind of scared to go all the way black yesterday.
And that's what I meant by my own pet peeve. Like I did exactly what I fucking say not to do. You know?
Well, but he's so good at, you know, creating, even to create the mood. A lot of times he's great at realism, dynamic, light sources, contrast, you know, and since he said the light source coming hard real from one side strong, I just envisioned, because this girl, I envisioned the mood. I envisioned the wheat and her hair blowing in the wind. But I even noticed, with as much black as he will use in a part that would scare a motherfucker, even himself. Because I envision, like, we cover up 25%, 50% of that girl. The other part that's black may just look like a Banksy piece.
Yes.
Right. And then when you lift your hand away, then that solid Banksy black turns into like form and shape with new tones.
Yes.
Which he's a master at doing, and it takes all, like you said, the 3 stages of a rhino. Like, one's black, which is so important, which is what he screams. But it's equally as important as being able to be a badass to like pull off the other part. So then the black's just not as cool, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
What's that art style that Meslov was talking about? Door or noir?
Noir. It comes from
Noir.
like a film era.
You probably got a
old,
cologne about it.
I actually do have a
I'm
noir.
sure, It comes from an old film era, though, like high contrast black and white films. Yeah, chiaroscuro is another name for like like a lot of black, a lot of shadows. Rembrandt painted like that. Caravaggio. It's just my favorite, and I think it's perfect for tattooing, because tattooing is not a painting. We need it to be really, really strong to stand the test of time.
Mhm.
So it's like a way to do realism responsibly, if that makes sense.
Totally.
Wow.
It's not the only way to tattoo by any means. It's just something
Right.
that works for me. And when my students, for the Everything I Know classes, they generally are interested in that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I have
Yeah.
to remember that things that like just seem like common sense to me are just totally new for people. You know what I mean? So
Come on, man.
I try hard in the
Jeez.
class to like be really aware of like, don't just brush over like, yeah, put your black in there. Like, I really want to make sure that I'm not dumbing anything down, but just trying to explain why it works.
Right. And I think that's helpful in more ways than one. One, since we're both instructors, again, some of the shit that you and I would think's 101, either I would say real quick or glaze over and then get into what I think was the real meat, the deep and heavy shit. And that wouldn't be so impressive. But every once in a while, just saying a basic thing, they would be like, my God, that changed everything for me. It's like, really?
I've literally had people write me and they're like, your class changed my life. I learned so much, but there was this one little thing and you said it like almost in passing. And now I do that every day. And it's just, and I'm like, I barely remember even saying that.
Man.
But it shows you the importance. We always say you don't know what you don't know. Well, we really don't know what they don't know.
My God. And the impact we all have on one another. Because Josh, in that same vein, I've noticed that same thing coming up in the evidence from just this podcast. You said something on episode 14, and it wasn't even the point of the show, but you just said something.
Yeah, and you got to go back and look it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and because I have enrollment calls all the time and talk to tattoo artists literally all over the globe once a week. I hold enrollment calls on Wednesdays. Last Wednesday, there was people on from Ireland, Australia, Norway, the UK. And one common thing, they're all wanting to join Tattoo Business Mastery, but they're all avid listeners of the podcast. And I get great feedback on those calls because I'll just ask them, who here listens to the podcast? Every hand goes up.
Yeah, I think every single student I have listens to the podcast. Everyone.
Yeah. And it wasn't that long ago when I'd asked that same question, only 2 hands would go up. And
They're
most
like,
people
"You
hadn't
have a
heard of.
podcast?" Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
But to hear the impact that you, Hip, have had on people, that you, Josh, that I have, and a lot of times it was almost like, the quiet in between the notes of the song that we were singing on that day.
Right.
Sometimes. We just never know. And this rings true for all you listeners. The impact that you have out there in the world. Just take responsibility. Know that you have one. Hold it loosely and try not to be attached to the outcome. But my God, it's always encouraging when one gets back to you and one of your students write you and says, dude, that little thing was a game changer for me, because that feedback's helpful for us instructors to be like, okay, maybe I shouldn't just glaze over that part.
Exactly. And one of the most one of the most important things that I've ever learned from you, Matt, and this is a perfect example of you never know the impact. You told me once, it was something along the lines of, if you're thinking of somebody, let them know.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I've reached out. So I had a client that they just seemed really off. They were they just seemed like they were in a rough day.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to like pry. So I just kind of asked them, how their day was and stuff. And I didn't get much of an answer. So like a day later, I thought, you know what, fuck it. I called him. And this was many years ago. So I was doing this without, your advice came later, but I had already done it on my own.
Yeah.
But years later, so anyway, so I called him just to see how he was doing, and it turns out he was suicidal. He was very depressed. He opened up to me. I told him, as I'm not a professional, so you need to seek professional help, but I'm here to listen to you. And I tried to say all the right things that I could. Well, many years go by, and he actually wrote me and told me, you'll never know how impactful that was. My tattoo artist, like, sure, I consider you a friend, but you're my tattoo artist. My tattoo artist called me.
Yeah.
My
Yes.
brother didn't even call me, but my fucking tattoo artist did.
Come on,
And,
boy.
I never even considered. I just wanted to make sure that he was okay.
Yes.
But
Yes.
what an
yes.
impact.
Yeah.
And, let's take a moment to think about, and sorry if I'm steering off in a different direction, but I think this is important.
Yeah.
There are people out there that have a memory of you that you don't even remember at all. And this could be good or bad.
Right.
So there's a Matt Clemmer out there that somebody does not like because
That's
they met
right.
you for whatever reason, it didn't vibe.
Yeah.
And that's all they know. Same with me,
Yeah.
same with Hip. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
And so let's be cautious of the way we are. We're not perfect,
Right.
but
Right.
you can really leave a lasting impression on somebody.
Yes. Yes.
So why
Oh my
not take
God.
advantage of that, right? That's
Yes,
as
brother.
Nico says, that's a superpower.
Yes, and that's a lifestyle. And it really doesn't take a whole lot of effort when you're in the flow. Like that day, Josh, you were in the flow of just listening to and heeding your internal guide. And for whatever reason, that client, that person, that man was still on your heart. And for whatever reason on that day, you were led enough from the inside to do something about it on the outside, which is act on it and just pick the phone up and call the dude.
Right.
You didn't know where he was in, the vessel that you were in his life on that day. You were just in the flow and simply as a lifestyle, just obeying as you feel led. And it's the little things that always turn into shit that we can talk about later, but none of us knew that would be the outcome when we were doing it. We were just following an unction.
Yeah.
I love that, Josh.
I mean, what if you do save someone's life? What if you're at least a part of that?
Man.
And I know that's huge, and I know that's like really grandiose.
Yeah.
But I mean, you just fucking never know. And
That's right.
it takes nothing to be. I'm always on a search just to be a better man. It
Yeah.
really doesn't take much to just simply try to be nice.
That's
When
right.
we first started this podcast, I talked a lot about not mistaking fake positivity. I don't even think like that anymore. I think that
Yeah.
it's just so natural for me to be a
Right.
giver.
Yeah.
It's just, that's the life I really enjoy living,
My God. Yep. So much fun.
Well,
and it
and it's
rubs
just
off
proof.
on people too, right? It rubs off on people so much. Our
Mm.
listeners, I feel it at conventions. I feel it in these smaller groups of, especially tattoo business mastery students. These people
Yes.
are like the nicest, most lovely, wonderful people ever.
Man.
Because
Yeah, we're lucky.
they get to listen to you.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of them realize that they become friends with each other, right? You got this
They
forum,
do.
and they really
Yeah.
go on and they go on and do guest spots together, and
Yep.
friendships are forged.
Yeah.
I saw somebody the other day, and they were looking for a new place to work, and one of the criteria was TBM, like affiliated or alumni.
Right.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Yeah. They,
Oh, that's fucking baller, dude.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Talk about impact. So
Dude, and your story, ultimately, yeah, it'd be cool. Like, well, I mean, we're gonna, we're all spearheading like a change is on the horizon. And, we talk about like the asshole tattooer and things like that isn't cognizant of their impact. But like at the same time, when I was hearing you share like the impact it had on that guy that was suicidal when his brother didn't even call, but his fucking tattoo artist did, I really have an appreciation. I mean, ultimately got a message and a vision we're striving for, but you need the good, the bad, the ugly for contrast purposes. So, like shout out to the asshole tattoo artist, because like without them, it wouldn't have put you so much in a position to even have that much more authority, simply because you obeyed your discernment to like want to genuinely care about this dude. Not saying that there are asshole tattoo artists out there that like will get that same unction and obey too. But because of that, a lot of people, I can totally see and like live in that dude's life and just think like, my fucking tattoo artist reached out to me. Like he actually took time out of like he's already on to another client, but he felt something weird and reached out to me. That is profound. And it just is more proof in the pudding of like the positions we're in, how we can like use it for good, just by something simple like that. Totally.
Yeah. Well, it's the art form of tattooing that brings a lot of us together.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a whole nother art form that really makes all the other art is magical. And that's the art form of building relationships. For what good is a painting if there are never no eyes that ever see it? What good is a song if there is not one ear to ever hear it? This beautiful, vulnerable thing called life was meant to be shared. Art is meant to be shared and partaken of. It's interactive, it's alive, it invokes so much in all of us. It teaches us, it shows us, it leads us, it guides us, it opens us up, it polarizes, all of it. Art is so powerful, right? But it's connected to the relationship with the artist and their craft, with their palette, with their color, but with the canvas, with the home, with the house, with the legacy, with the gallery that keeps sharing it in relationship so that others may partake in it, right? And that's a fun woo way of saying the art form of building relationships is so fucking where it's at. What Josh was just breaking down doing, he did that just naturally out of the goodness of his heart. But folks, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. Now, we're in November, right? Do you know how many artist guys right now are in freak out mode, slow season? And we've talked about it in the past, but it's here now for a lot of artists, right? Mm-hmm. But those same artists, since they haven't even considered that building relationships is even an art form, let alone something to focus and work on and master, those same artists, their books are like really thin right now, and they're rolling into holidays and fear, lack, and doubt, right? With all the excuses, we're in a recession, the comic, blah, blah. But what I'm getting is those same artists are leaving so much money and tattoos and great fucking days and great pieces on the table. And they
with great people,
and they don't even know it. Pause. While you guys are still worrying about how you're going to attract more clients and get more people in your books and get a new customer and a new client and all that good stuff with your branding and marketing, you are sitting on a treasure chest, a gold mine of relationships that you've already begun to build, that have already been set in motion, tattoos you've already started, finished, begun, whatever. Right now, let's play a game. Sit down, get out a pen and pad. write down every client you can fucking absolutely think of. Well, okay, well, fuck, whoever randomly pops in your head. I can't think of this girl's name, but I remember this piece I was doing on her, and it was a lantern, and I was whispering out some shading, and I never got to finish that, but she was a sweetheart. She had red crunchy hair, and she loved her dog. She kept talking about her dog. Great. Write that person down. And attributes about her that you remember. Go on to the next. Who else pops in your head? And I want you to write down every client you can think of and 3 attributes about them. Now, and don't even be trying to control who you're thinking about. If they randomly pop in your head, Josh and I and Hip would like to suggest it might not be so random. You are a receiver out of the hundreds, the thousands. Why is these 22 popping up in your head today? Even if you don't like them, whatever, write them down. Well, you can act on it later. Okay. These clients that you know and exist. Now, here's a little fucking life business hack. Now, without all the back teaching, we're just going straight to it. Reach out to all of them just from the goodness of your heart and touch base, whether it's in the form of a client appreciation, thank you, whether it's in a form of just reconnecting, like hope all is well in your life, a simple hello. Don't even talk about tattoos. They know who you are. They know you're their tattoo artist. You're not reaching out to them to talk about tattoos. You're reaching out to them to show them that you care. You truly care, right? Givers get. We do not give to get, but it comes with the territory. Whatever people show up in our life is because we, somewhere along the line, loved them first, cared first. Do you know Hip, after every single tattoo, takes the extra time with Mike's help, and he does a photo shoot with his client, prints it out, a printed photo, and writes a handwritten thank you note sends it to them to their home. Now Hip's at home on their wall, on their fridge. They got the bragging rights. This is my tattoo artist. He's right here in my home, right? The fortune is in the follow-up. Your book's a little nil right now. How much have you gone out of your way to just love on your clients in the smallest details? It takes but 30 seconds to make the list of these clients and just say, hello. Hey, hope all's well in your life. Hey, I was just taking some time out today to think of any of and all of my clients. And I'm just in awe of all the people that have trusted me and have provided for me with my craft. And you're one of them. I thought of you today. And I'm just reaching out to say thanks. Hope all's well in your life. Next message. Hey, I was just thinking of you today. And I remember we never finished your piece. And I also remember you was telling me all about your dog. I hope you and your dog's good. Next message, whatever. Just short check-ins to let them know you're thinking of them. Yeah. This is a form of following up. The fortune is in the follow-up. In the real riches of life. Yes, because we know right now you want to get your books filled. You want to be able to afford Christmas. I get all that. The fortune's in the follow-up with your clients. How many of you reached out to today, let alone could you even think of on that list? And how many attributes about them do you even recall that they shared with you? See, when you can remember what they shared with you about themselves and you speak to that, it's another level of you caring. You took the time out to not that you were listening and that you cared to recall and remember, and now you're speaking it back to them. Even if this is 6 months or 6 years later, folks, it all matters. And yes, that'll get your books filled, but the real riches is in the relationships with those people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We used to do a thing. I haven't done it in a while because fortunately, unfortunately, I'm not tattooing much right now, but we used to message clients before their birthday that was coming up.
Love it.
And just, you know what I mean? Kind of like wish them a happy birthday. Yeah. And even if we can maybe try to get them booked to book, some sort of discount might happen, or a t-shirt or something. And it was amazing how well. I think it was like a 70 or 80% return rate.
Love that.
Real high.
Love that.
And I'm not even saying to do it just for the money, but if your books are thin, Matt's really onto something here. You know? Yeah. Unfortunately, it's cool to be kind of the dicky tattoo artist that's like complains about all their clients. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's what I think it is. Josh, I think that's what we're in. Let's talk about the Renaissance era. You know, tattoo is not just the artistic. The art's not just in Renaissance. The business is too. in the model. And I think we're witnessing and have been history, like you were talking about change earlier, Josh, even that changing, or you were bringing up, you know, changing, spearheading change in the industry. And I feel like someone should step up, Josh, me, somebody, Russ Abbott, you out there, whoever, somebody, guy, whoever. I was going to make a joke, be like, Joe Cab, you can bitch them all out, right? No.
He'd be
To
the
make
one
the
to do it,
announcement.
definitely.
Huh?
Joe would be the one to do it for sure.
If we could like get him on the right, you know, he's
Right.
definitely got the passion and the fire. We just got to get him the right message.
Right.
He's still fucking pissed and complains a lot, right? Now, I ain't talked to him in recent months. Maybe he's turned over a new leaf. But what I'm getting at is to make the announcement. Guys, so much in our industry has changed. The days of fucking hating, talking shit, complaining about everyone and everything are over. All the tattoo groups that are just lined up with motherfuckers ready to light you up, to throw shade your way, to throw hate, to break you down when you're just trying to grow and ask for help. And that was like the cool kids club talking shit, fucking, you know what I'm saying, stroking one another in the feeds and shit. Those days are over. They are. People are waking up to and realizing and finding their tribes that, hey, just because you're someone that wasn't even on that level of that frequency, and you're just in this like trying to be the best you, but you have felt all alone, surrounded by douchebags and assholes. They're all waking up realizing, oh fuck, I'm not the only one. I'm not alone, and there's a lot of me out there. There's a lot more tattoo guardians all over the world is waking up and uniting and come together, and all the so-called assholes or whatever, half of them just didn't know any better and actually are followers and are being taught and awakening to a better way
Right.
themselves.
They're just finding their tribe, you know.
Come on. You know? Yeah, it's been fun. And it's not like, I don't even see it as like there's multiple tribes. I just feel like one big new one is forming, and it's all these tattoo artists just letting go of all the bullshit and showing up humble with an open, empty compassion and curiosity for one another. You know, even how Nico was talking about, like, when he's naming off some of the legends, and he was talking about the difference between some older dudes versus others, and some may be the old complainers and maybe intimidated on the newer generation, but then he's giving examples of other dudes that embrace the younger generation and befriend them and want to grow with them. And that's like the fucking the beauty of like the baton passing, because half the old schoolers that are bitching and talking shit aren't handing anything to the younger guys to even want to pick up. Like, we hear all your complaints, but now what? And that just tells us where you stopped, not where you're going. And we got to, and so the younger generations kind of had to fucking figure it out on their own. That's why you and I have always pointed back to poor leadership. Well, but we're not complaining. That's why we're now doing our part. Like, no one else is going to stand up and make this announcement? Okay, we will. Right? No one else going to start a movement that's unity and acceptance of all? Okay, then we will, right? And so will you, listeners. And now it's like giving folks permission all over the globe. This is why I feel like the tattoo industry as a whole is changing almost spiritually for the better. And which will lead us to that next level of even class that Nico was wanting to at least kick the door open for.
Right.
Like taking our industry to such a revered level of respect, like world-renowned chefs type of class and respect. You know what I'm saying?
You know, it's compassion doesn't mean weakness by any means.
Come on.
If any, I've always heard and said and tried to live by that, like, truth without compassion is brutality. And there's a way to be in authority and like carry the message of truth. And like, you can't graft a new idea on a closed mind, So for those older generation people or the people that came up that were misinformed by misinformed people, there are new and different ways to go about being a tattoo artist. Like you can still fucking bang some metal and punk rock and fucking slam PBRs and fucking wear Vans with no socks and what the fuck ever, and still carry yourself as a compassionate human. Like it's cool because like a lot of students, old school dudes, and tattooers that have been going for decades, like come into the TBM class, and it's cool because like they talk about like what it was when they were coming up and like how it was rough around the edges, and like even with Pooch talking about, you know, in the mid 90s, like it was completely unheard of for black people to become tattoo artists. So it was a grind. And so like there's been that lack mindset and tons of limiting beliefs that have carried tattooing to a certain extent, and ultimately everything needs to evolve and grow.
That's right, because we've
progress.
evolved. We honor all those who went before us and all the fucking pioneers, all the blood, sweat, and tears of the generations of men that put in what they put in just so we could have the luxury to buy a microphone here and give our fucking 2 cents.
Right.
After like buying needles that someone made for me.
Right.
And plugging in one machine, I can lay out 5 needles instead of 5 coil, right? Like we recognize, to the degree we're even able to, how fucking fortunate and lucky we are and almost spoiled in comparison. So we honor so much of the pioneers and giants that went before us.
And it's like that was
We've
all
evolved.
well, it was totally the even what the old school dudes are saying when they talk about back in their day, it was progressing and evolving and changing and growing.
And you know what, real quick, because instead of having this dualistic mentality, shout out to all the old school dudes who are true and still true fucking guardians, who aren't fucking complainers, who aren't victims, who don't walk around like any old person acting like the whole world's going to hell in the handbasket, everything's fucked. Shout out to all the old schoolers who are still fathers in the game, who are still mentors, who still have your torch lit. You know what I'm saying? Like I judged at Hunts Vegas at Rock Show with a dude that most would consider an old timer, and his name was Hot Rod. And I fucking fell in love with this dude. I honored this dude. You know what I'm saying? And he was an old schooler, but was cool as fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot badass old schoolers that are sweethearts and positive, but we don't know a lot of them. Because unfortunately, the negative people have just been louder.
Man, you took the words right out of my mouth, and that's exactly what it is. The number is so greater of people that are fighting the good fight that are on the positive side. It's just that they don't necessarily feel the need to take the stand and fucking prove their side. Instead, you know, truth needs no defense. So they just sit back and let people have, you know, it's a level of maturity to be able to sit back and let someone talk to you about you and know that they're wrong and not have to inform them that they are wrong.
Oh, that's good. That is a level of maturity, Hip. That's funny you say that because I just was looking at a couple quotes. I think
of course you were.
I think from like Elon Musk. You know what I'm saying? But to what you just said, you know, to what you just said, a quote I just read a few minutes ago says, train yourself to let people win arguments on purpose to conserve your mental health.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then
I
it
love
said,
that. That's awesome.
yeah. And then the second part, it says, you become more mature when you train yourself to take nothing personally.
Man.
Right? Just to what you were speaking to,
Right.
you know? And then back to the complainers. You know, it says the most difficult mission on earth is to focus on your dreams. The easiest task is to complain. You know?
Yeah, because it is easy to complain, to have
Fuck
an empty
yeah.
opinion
That's
and
the
point.
second you give all your power away. But there's a short-term payoff for that. Hey guys, I'm a victim. I can't. My plans didn't work out because that motherfucker, and because of this, and because of them. And you're giving all your power away. But the payoff is all you get to be the victim. Oh man, that sucks for you. How's that been working out for you?
Yeah.
Right?
I always
You've-
notice that
yeah.
the loudest complainers never have any solution either.
Mm,
You know,
yeah.
like you just, spouting off how this is that and that. Okay, well, what do we do?
Yeah.
I don't fucking know.
Right.
Complain
yeah.
more.
And they almost don't want one. And we
Right.
see it a lot of times now. I try and weed these type of people out before they even enter my coaching program because they're already not coachable. What do we mean by that? Because some people will want to learn. They'll say they're teachable. Matt, please teach me. Joshua Carlton, show me your ways, man. I'm hungry, bro. Mold me. Teach me. But then their willingness to actually implement change in their life is at a zero. So they're really not coachable or teachable at all. They think they are, but they're not really. And that was leading me to another point that I just lost. What's the last thing you said, Josh?
I was just more saying that they never seem to have an answer. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, gosh. Okay, thank you. That's all I needed. Yeah, so we have a vetting process. But even when I talk to my students, because part of a process of learning and growing is also identifying what to let go of. And that's a hard thing for us all to do. You and I, all three of us, practice it all the time. So we grow certain beliefs, thoughts, ways of being, things we did that we realize aren't even serving us. But we thought it was hard truth until there's a light shown on it and we're able to see in a way we've never seen, but then to let that deal go. All your limiting beliefs. Well, we tell our students all the time, now you can fight to hang on to all your limiting beliefs, and your reward is you get to keep them. Right?
wow.
Well, and it's funny because where you were going with that, there's work that we do in recovery, and there's this question, and it asks something along the lines of it's basically addressing character defects, which for our listeners are basic human traits, just distorted and perverted out of proportion, either too far one way or too far the other. But they're just basic human traits. Example, love, right? Love's a basic human trait. Distorted can become lust. Now lust is a character defect. It gets your ass in trouble. And it causes harm. So it talks about why are you afraid to let go of said defect because you don't know how to live without it, or it will change you ultimately.
Yeah.
And I've been experiencing, so I think I've talked about this here before, maybe it was in TBM. I've brought it up, and one of my defects is my internal controversy. I believe that if I don't call it martyr syndrome. Struggle. If I'm not struggling and constantly talking my shit and dogging myself out, that I will somehow plateau or become very egotistical and think that I am the shit.
Or or you're not earning it.
Right. Totally. So there has to be skin in the game, and a lot of times it's got to be suffering.
But in some of those games, there's a lift to take you all the way up this mountain. It's a ski lift. Everyone rides it.
Yeah, but
and Hip's
fuck that.
I'm going to take my boots off and go barefoot up this fucker.
All right.
And we're like, but why? And he's like, I got to earn this.
Right.
You don't know what I've been through.
Right.
I don't deserve that lift. I'm going to fucking crawl tooth and nail. We're like, okay, dude. See you tomorrow.
And it's a level of maturing and evolving, kind of how the industry is. I'm realizing that when things pop up in my mind that don't serve me, and meaning that it's my character defect shows up, and it's man, you really don't deserve that. Don't celebrate. I was gifted a bonus last night live on TBM, and I was just very somber about it and kind of was yeah, cool. Almost I was explaining to you, Josh, before Matt came down here, that I feel now looking back I was kind of robbing you and Katie of the moment. And I actually apologized when I got in here to her because you weren't here yet. But it's I become aware of those things in the present moment, and I may be experiencing them, but I'm getting quicker And by quicker, I'm talking nanoseconds of acknowledging it and realizing, like, does this serve me or doesn't this serve me? And kind of trusting the process of, like, well, instead of acting in this character defect, go ahead and observe it and put it over there, and continue about your day. Now, I'm noticing growth because it hasn't really been eating my lunch. It's come from throughout the day. Whereas in the past,
So like Josh, you got to be honest. You see progression.
yeah. And you know, like early on, I thought progression was like leaps and bounds, and it's not necessarily leaps and bounds. It's literally baby steps, and it's a process over time. And people always told me when I was first getting clean, like, dude, you didn't become a dope fiend overnight. What makes you think? And it's the instant gratification, which is another character defect that, like, oh, well, I fucking took one class of everything I know from Josh, and it's like, oh, cool, so I just got this shit mastered. I can't tell you how many times after the seminar and after you tattooed me that, like, I was like, it just doesn't look that hard. It can't be that fucking hard.
I thought the same shit and tried to do it the very next day and was like, fuck.
And exactly. And then you get into it and you're like, dude, logically, it's not that fucking hard what's going on here. And it's like, oh, it's because it's hard and it's a process to mastering this.
Baby steps. Yep.
Right.
Manageable chunks.
Manageable chunks, dude. Always manageable chunks.
Yeah.
And that's just more of growing into, like, me healing the character defect, or coming to terms that if I let some of these go and replace them with attributes, normal attributes that are spiritual and practical in nature, that I'm not going to change and become a mindless robot. I'm not going to become an ordained preacher and be free of fucking all sin. Like, I'm still going to fucking be me, just a little bit better than I was before.
Fuck yeah, I love that.
Which ultimately, that just can expand out into the fucking industry. Like, each day tattooing is getting a little bit cooler, a little bit better.
Because I'm telling you, it does rub off. Like, you know, you went to a show this weekend, right? This last weekend, the Pit Row Expo.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the people that you're around, and I'm sure the podcast helps with that, because they can feel maybe a little bit easier to walk up and meet you because they're like, hey, I listened to the podcast. That, it's like, it just rubs off on them, and then they carry that to the next person, and suddenly it's almost like gaining or losing weight. Like when you're around your family, they don't notice it because they're around you all the time. But all of a sudden, the tattoo industry just gets like a little lighter and a little bit less just tough guy, right? And it's just better in general because we're helping each other out. But maybe we didn't notice it happening because it didn't happen overnight, you know? But it ended up, and it hopefully will end up in a better place. And don't take that as I hate the tattoo industry or anything like that. You know, I've been tattooing for long enough to know it's been through some weird times, we'll say. If that makes sense.
Well, and you've seen extreme change in it over a long period of time.
Yes.
And you've seen...
And we are again right now.
Yeah, and you've seen things come and go, and things that didn't work or weren't correct, and went back to the drawing board and then readdressed. And so, you know, it's kind of like you've been there so long that you've seen what actually has consistency and proof that it will last and help progress the industry. Even if it's like each time it gets passed down or to another person or handed down, like their version of what that looks like now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't want to lose the, like, you should still be a little nervous to walk into the tattoo shop and get your first tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
But it shouldn't be like terrifying to the point of like, is this even a place I should be going into?
Right.
Yeah, there's a healthy nervous. It's a nervous. There should be a nervous, like,
yes,
you're about to fucking get tattooed. Like, I've covered in tattoos, but if I was about to get tattooed 5 minutes after this call, I'd instantly get nervous, right? There's a healthy form of nervous, like the experience, the art, the commitment. My arm's never going to look the same, all of this. And then there's an excited nervousness. Man, I fucking... Today's my day, right? I found my dude. I found my artist, whatever. I've been saving up for that. There's an excited nervousness. We don't want people coming in with the nervousness of like a kid walking into a certain study hall that gets bullied and picked on and belittled every fucking day, and he's nervous to walk into that room again.
We want him nervous. That little kid's grown up now and graduated college, and he's going for his first job at the giant fucking building in downtown Chicago to meet the fucking head CEO of the office. That type of nervous.
Yeah,
Right.
You can be nervous to be around people that are going to belittle you, but it's also real nerve-wracking to be in the presence of greatness.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Why not build a culture in a studio of greatness with great people, great customer service, great vibe checks all around, like great care, instead of under promising and over delivering, like a level of over promising and then over delivering on that, a level of class, like fucking great. Being around that, and we've witnessed it in Aisle 9 with even all of its flaws. How many people over the years that came in and was just in awe of their experience, the studio, the aesthetic, the culture, the team. Like, man, there are people that like just wanted to come back in to be around that great environment. I mean, even our shop manager today came because he got tattooed by you once and felt like he was surrounded by greatness with great people in a great room and a great atmosphere, and wanted to join our team and was writing me for a job on Instagram for maybe 2.5 years before we actually even hired the guy. He was a client that just wanted to be a part of the team, but didn't have like no special niche. And I do this for tattooers, whatever. Like, he just wanted to be down. I'll figure it out. Find me a role. Right. Well, now he's our shop manager and he's doing great.
Mm-hmm.
But I bet he was fucking nervous to come in.
Right.
But he wasn't nervous that we were going to fucking make him feel like a punk. He was nervous because of the epic piece. He's getting tattooed by a hip and he's surrounded by great people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, Aisle 9 has a good handle on that. When I was there, it just immediately feels, first of all, it's a gorgeous shop filled with incredible talent, but you feel welcome right away. And as I was working there, I got to witness people come in and talk to you, Matt, for a consultation or whatever, and just like the way everybody handled everything was very class.
Yeah.
And I see a lot more of that nowadays. These new shops are opening up and they're just gorgeous and inviting, and people are spending money on like I've always said, buy the best tools you can afford. If they're going to make a shop, they're making it the best shop they can afford. They're going all in.
Absolutely.
And it shows, man. It shows. And I love it. I love how beautiful some of these new studios are. It's amazing.
Me too. And there's a lot of TBM students that are opening new studios, redoing them, totally remodeling them with a whole new level of class and aesthetic of the place to match the new level of service and aesthetic that they're packing on the inside that they're providing now.
They've changed so much. You got to change that environment around you too, reflect that.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
And, going back to what we first started talking on, Josh, you were talking, or Matt had brought it up, but you were basically talking about, reaching out to your client and coming to find out he was suicidal. And then Matt was talking about, what's the sense of listening to a song if there's no ears to hear it, or art if there's no eyes to view it. And, it had me thinking, and I'm not, I have painted. I wouldn't call myself a painter, but I know that I would imagine that there are, and this is what's going to separate or what makes tattooing cool, or just another aspect of how cool it is. But anytime I've done artwork, like I really never cared what the medium was, like whether it's a brick wall or it's a board that I'm painting on, or if it's a canvas or it's paper. It's just like something to create art on. And I don't know if some of the great painters are like very particular on the fabric their canvases are made out of.
Sure.
And I would imagine that they are. But one of the cool things about tattooing is like, if you're a painter, you're getting the best oils. You're beating an egg in to the paint. I heard people mix eggs in with their paint for oil painting. Yeah. They get the finest brushes from the finest unicorns from fucking islands never heard of in outer space and shit. So it's like in tattooing, like, we get the best brushes. We get the best paint. We also have the luxury and honor to like be particular with the canvases that we actually tattoo. And I'm not trying to devalue a human being by calling them a canvas, but just in a realm of a vision. Like we are particular with the canvases we create our art on. And just thinking of being an artist outside of tattooing, like I never really cared what my canvas was on, unless like I was doing, I don't know, I seen Cotterman do some colored pencil work on vellum, and I had to message him, and I'm like, how are you getting it to see to look like that without the sheen on it? And he told me what to use, and I went and tried it, but ultimately, like a fucking dude. Like Tevin, all that grew up spray painting shit. Like, I'm sure he didn't give a fuck what the canvas was made out of. Right. He just wanted to tag some shit. But here, being tattoo artists, like, we can be particular with, like, our canvases, more so because, like, they're living, breathing creatures. And they're representations of us as we are to them. We put our legacy on things that eventually will die. Whereas a painting, there's still Rembrandts and fucking Da Vinci's still in existence to this day. But our tattoos aren't always going to be there. So I think that's just like a special thing. Like there's something different about living and breathing. I can sit and paint this canvas or this one behind me all night long, get pissed off, paint over it, do it again, and it's not going to complain that it's hungry or it needs to take a piss break,
right.
Or it's starting to hurt.
It's not going to talk with its hands and move around.
Right, it's
ask
not going to...
if you're going to finish this part over here.
Right. But that's just one of like the special things that like tattooing in my eyes just morphs all other art forms. Like there's just no comparison because the level of intimacy you get to be, and in the pain involved, you literally have to earn it, even with numbing things, like you still have to earn it. There's going to be some pain. I think Post Malone, didn't he get put out surgically?
Anesthesia, yep.
Well, that ain't going to do shit for him when he wakes up and he's got to go through that healing process.
He's strapped with painkillers and shit probably, but...
Right, but the itchiness and just the annoyance of it. So you still have to earn it.
There's still something, yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and pay for it.
And pay for it.
It's costed more and probably an extra $30,000 just to be put out.
Right.
Easily.
I would probably try it. Sounds cool.
Wake up with you get your whole back and you wake up and you're like, oh, I thought you said red wagon, not red dragon. Like, motherfucker, you're looking so goddamn good.
Dude, in a little way, that happened to me because, I've got a back piece from Brenner, and he did like 3/4 of it. And so basically my whole tramp stamp area was blank. And Brenner did his abstract version of Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane on my back like fucking a decade and a half ago. Well, in this decade, I went to Big Meese to do Big Meese lettering across my whole lower back. But I also wanted, since I'm going down, I basically wanted to forever get rid of having ass crack, because like in the summers, I'd be sitting outside on the porch doing a hand stencil and my t-shirt roll up. You guys be like, hey, plumber, Matt, you're rocking plumber ass. Like you'd see my ass crack just a little, right? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to get my whole, at least the top half of my ass blacked out. So then when my pants ride, you still don't ever just see plumber crack. I'm just blacked out. And so I went to Meese for him to do my lettering, and he did the words, "It is," real small, and then one big word across my whole lower back, "Finished." It is finished. And the plan was for him to do the words in negative space and blast black out everywhere around my lower back. Session 1, just the outline. And it was fucking murder, boys. I love Meese. We're dudes. But I was like, dude, you tattooed me with a telephone pole right now? You know what I'm saying? He's big. This is back when he was Big Meese. Like now he's like trimmed up and shit. And it felt like he was just having his grip double fisted, two-handed, and just leaning in, right? But anyhow, so I was earning some shit. And I think I even tried numbing in it still, but it's just the outline. So obviously, come back for session 2. And, I walked in, he's like, you ready to get your ass blasted today? I'm like, fuck yeah. So I thought we was still on the same page. And he just went to talking shit and tattooing me. We went on a smoke break, and I went and looked, and by God, he was coloring in the lines instead of going negative space. You know, again, it wasn't Red Dragon, it was a red wagon, you know? And so, yeah, I didn't get, to this day, I still got a plumber crack and didn't get all that blacked out, you know?
Damn. Did you tell them? Did you like say, hey, whoa?
I did.
Yeah.
But when I finally noticed, it was like basically too late. They were all blacked in and
Right.
shaded up.
He
So
just
it's
straight up forgot.
Fuck, he straight up forgot. And he's
Oh,
like,
man.
damn, Clemmer, my bad, dude. I just wasn't thinking. I started coloring them in. It's just like, you know, did you ever, back in the day when you do nautical stars and you're supposed to skip every
Yes.
one, every once in a while.
Dude, I got two of them on my leg right now.
Okay, that was a classic. Oh, fuck, man, I forgot to skip a space.
So
Yeah.
I did, you know, the singer of Social Distortion, Mike Ness.
Yeah.
I did one on his hand, his guitar hand. And the
Hell
whole
yeah.
time I was like, please don't fuck this up. I did not.
Okay, good.
Later on, there's like, he's posing. I think it might be on the cover of one of his albums, even at least a poster. And
Yeah.
you can just see his hand, my
Yeah.
tattoo right there. And if I would have
Yeah.
fucked it up, I put like little dots. I put
Yeah.
it with the pen in each one that was supposed to be colored.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I was fucking scared.
Isn't that nuts? Because you'd think that's such a simple mistake. Who the fuck would do that? But it would
Right?
happen all the time.
It was a brain fart.
You know, big time. And so it was one of those on Misa's end, but with my whole back, my whole lower back, just colored in the wrong side. Like, oops, you
Man.
know. Now he did say, he's like, man, after that's all healed, you can come back. We'll skip a space,
Sure.
outline all the word, and then black fucking everything
Sure.
out. And we can still do that too, but.
Well, I mean, what are you waiting for?
Man, you know, it hurt. I'm like, man, maybe I'm good. And it does as you get older. It hurts worse. Dude, in my 20s, I would get tattooed for therapy. Loved it. That pain that you got to go through to earn it was there. I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
And now I don't at all.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever feel?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I thought you were done. Go ahead.
No, go for it.
I was just gonna say, do you ever feel like, you know, that sounds like a pretty big project, right? Do you ever feel like when you're doing a larger project on somebody, you feel like they will hound you, like no matter what you're going through in life, their tattoo takes precedence over anything else. Like, how dare you have a social life? Like,
Yeah.
did you see that thing on the internet recently where they shared a text thread that they had where somebody basically was like, they tried to get it on a certain day, like a Thursday, right?
Yeah.
And the guy said, no, he doesn't have that day available. Well, anyway, the client ran into that artist at Buffalo Wild Wings
Yeah.
and was like, what the fuck, bro? I thought you didn't have any time.
Yeah.
It's his fucking day off with his family. This guy's like, if
Right.
you got time to go to Buffalo Wild Wings, you got time to get me in.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like my gravestone is going to say, so you're not finishing my tattoo? You know? Bro.
Oh my God.
Just
yes,
a pet
Josh.
peeve. Just, I don't know. Speaking of pet peeves, I guess. So I don't know.
Yeah. For sure. That's a big one. That's a big one. Dude. And it's the clients like that. Well, one, it's what we teach our TBM students, how to just weed out of your life, because there's ways we've learned to operate on the front end to like weed a lot of those fuckers out. But some of them still get through the cracks. But one that was crazy, and it's weird, the clients that'll act, do you like that? Just take all the fun out of it. Like, well, now I don't think I ever want to work with you ever again. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like,
I
what
noticed that.
Yeah. You notice what?
I noticed that when a new client comes out and says, "You're the artist, you do your thing," that's a red flag. Because it's never what they mean. They're gonna micromanage the shit out of you.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, I'm not an artist though, but you know.
Exactly. What if?
Oh man, dude, this was years ago. This was back in modified days, and so this is like a year before Aisle 9 opens. And this woman came in. This was back, Josh, when I was still learning, you know, all the red flags, and I knew a lot of them, and was already coaching and teaching other folks like Hip how to repel these red flagged people. But my compassion, being overextended, became a character defect, would lunge me into people pleasing, and I would go against what I teach my students, Josh, and what I tell Hip not to fuck around with. That's the fire I'd still play with in the name of compassion. So this woman came in and she was, older, late 60s, had gotten a breast augmentation. I do nipples and areolas mainly for breast cancer survivors. It's like a real blessing to get to be a part of it. And, there's an art form to that, not to make them look real and natural and all that. And it's such a gift, right? So a woman was brought to me by her friends, but this woman was different in many ways. But one was, Josh, she didn't want her nipples and areolas back. And I assessed her breast, and they were like very viable candidates to get real nipples back and look good. The incisions, the scarring were hidden, because I've seen some women that was just a hack job, and I could put the best nipple on, but I can't undo that hack job, right? This woman's breasts were like perfect. She had 2 incisions underneath with her breasts dropped. They were covered underneath. You couldn't even see them, and she was perfectly set up for 2 brand new nipples. A lot of times, most women have one good one, and so we just use their good one as the reference. The women that are missing both, that feel like bummer they don't have either, we turn that into a good thing. Now you get to go shopping. What do you wish you always had? What's your flavor? You like pepperoni? You like Dots? What you want, girl? Whatever. Obviously, my consultation is more professional than that. Just getting to the point. But this woman came in, Josh, and money can't buy style. And this woman wanted, instead of nipples, she wanted blue flames rolling up her titties. But just like blue, just fucking flames.
Like her areolas were on fire?
Yep. And shooting up. And she thought it would be cool, rock and roll. She may be going through another like midlife crisis, whatever. And she even had plans she lived out on a farm, to mow the lawn on her riding mower topless and fucking freak people out. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So on one hand, that was all cool, but how she conveyed herself, and she brought her friends in, and she was such a victim, such a Debbie Downer. And so like whatever she's gone through and been through, and I imagine has been a lot, like a lot of us in life, but she is acting like the biggest victim, and no one understands what she's gone through and what's going through, and everyone's out to get her, blah, blah. Like a slew of just her way of being was like red flag, red flag, red flag. But my compassion was like, well, obviously I'm going to love this woman, and she's hurt, but I'm going to create safe place with her and me, and this could be therapeutic for her. I'm going to love on her and give her blue flames, right? And I did. And she loved them. Well, she goes away, and obviously, and they healed, and there was like 2 spots that like healed with like negative space cracks that sometimes happen in a tattoo, right? Mm-hmm. That she wanted touched up or followed up. Totally fine, but it was a BW's on Saturday type scenario. Since I didn't jump when she said jump and get that little crack on her nipples fixed right now, this is where the ugliness came. And what she didn't realize is that's what made me like step back and be like, oh, whoa, just because I couldn't do you tomorrow, she's already getting shitty. That immediately makes me not even want to do you next week, right? And I have a nice way of kind of letting them know, like, whoa, horsey, but still loving her. Like, hey, I still care, blah, blah. I got you, girl. I'm booked out and I got other things, but I'll get you. You know what I'm saying? This turned her into almost stalking me. And this was back in Periscope days, when Periscope was like hot for a quick minute. And that's when I would go on Periscope and practice doing lives, trying to get the confidence to go live on other platforms. And somehow she found my Periscope, and whatever I was teaching or sharing with the world, she was trolling me in there and talking shit. And I'm like, oh my God, this woman, daggone it. Like, now I'm almost not wanting to fuck with her at all. Anyways, guys, this chick got way out of hand. Now, when most artists would have dropped her, I still had compassion. And throughout this whole process was trying to educate her and like, you lucky you dealing with, I didn't say this to her, but you lucky you dealing with me. Everyone else would have just told you to fuck off by now. But I'm trying to love her through this process, even though she's being crazy with me, to educate her. Like, this isn't how you treat people. This is not how you get your way. And this is definitely not how you want to deal with a tattoo artist. And since you're dealing with me, I'm still dealing with you when others wouldn't. And I'm trying to help you not only with our relationship, if there still even is one, but for any future tattoo you get, that was me still trying. But you can't, talk sense and we're crazy, right? So, I just went on. Fast forward a year, we open aisle 9. It's the biggest thing that's happening in our lives. All our fans and clients are there. The city is there. City council's there. Josh, the news is there. We've got the mayor out there with the big ribbon. We're doing a ribbon cutting. Brenner's there, and I ain't seen him in like 9 years. And we're there. I bought every man on the team their own pair of gold scissors, inducting them into the team. And we all with gold scissors cut this deal together. Everyone's clapping. The news is out there. Now we can disperse and open our doors and people can walk in the shop and mingle and party. That was the out front announcement. I gave a little speech thanking everyone and welcome us to the community. All that. It was a special magical moment. Right in that moment, boom, after the ribbon cutting, everyone's clapping. Through the crowd, now there's people coming to hug and love on all of us. This chick appears in front of, out of nowhere in front of everyone, pissed as fuck, starts bitching me out and whips her tits out and pulls her shit out. It's like, remember these, motherfucker? You know what I'm saying? Like in front of everybody. I'm like, And I remember like escorting her away from the people and talking to her, and I was keeping her calm. But then I looked at her with fire in my eyes. I'm like, girl, this is not your night. This is not the time or the place to do this here. I'll be damned it. You know what I'm saying? But it just blew my mind how fucking crazy this woman is. She gonna show up at our grand opening and make it all about her. You know what I'm saying? And it's these people who've taught me such great lessons, which is what we teach in TBM now, to avoid these type of nightmares, right? But dude,
I think she was our first bad review on Google too.
Probably she was.
Did you ever touch it up?
Fuck no.
Fuck your blue flames.
No shit. You and your loser titties, get out of here. Just kidding. No, but man. I feel like that last statement might cancel me. Shit. Speaking of pet peeves, she was one.
I forgot about that whole incident, dude.
Oh my God. I've got thousands of those, which is why I think I'm able to teach everything I teach today. It's from experiencing hell.
Well, and you ducked her off good because I didn't see it and wasn't even aware of it until you told me afterwards what had happened. And I was like, what?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I literally thought, what length's she going to? This was pretty far. I was like, am I going to have to like call the cops here real quick?
If I did some shit like that to a tattoo artist, not even a tattoo artist, someone that was making my food, there's no way I would want them to ever touch me or tattoo me or make me something.
That's why
to eat.
I don't
There's
understand.
no fucking way.
What did she think? That I was going to tuck my tail on my head right there at my grand opening and bring her in and she'd be the first tattoo we do right there in front of everybody because I'm in trouble. I don't get what she's even thinking. You know what I'm saying?
Man.
But a lot of that, guys, that could have all been prevented if I would have known how to operate differently, which I do and teach now. You know what I'm saying? People like that don't even get into my life now.
Mm-hmm.
That even though we could say she was crazy, that was on me. And we can look back and see the holes in how I operated, even how I communicated and what I didn't clearly communicate to her on the front end to make her even have the audacity to expect for me to be at her beck and call because I wasn't clear on the front end that it don't roll like that. Now, she took it to a level of crazy that most people you don't have to explain that shit to, but still, who we are and how we operate now, someone like that either won't do business with us or they will, and they'll like stay in check the whole time because we've laid out exactly what to expect and what we don't do. You know what I'm saying? So I'm thankful now for those horror moments because they were great lessons in my life. Well, Hip, I know you wanted this whole episode to be a Pet Peeves Part 2, but it kind of took a different turn, huh?
It did, and I just felt it because Josh had meant to, for our listeners, that was my plan. We did a Pet Peeves before. It was just me and Matt. We wanted Josh to be a part of it. Plus, he wanted to be a part of it, too. that was the plan tonight, but it just went somewhere different. And I appreciate it. And I've actually kind of been waiting for it because this kind of went like more organic conversation. You know, because Matt shared in the past that like he just feels burdened when we don't have a particular topic to talk about. And I'm always cool with like just opening up and talking and saying whatever the fuck comes to mind. Right. And it was almost like you were tricked. Or because remember I said I was going to address you after I talked to Josh because you just seemed like real somber and chill and shit. Yeah. But it could have been a disguise of like anxiety ridden and like, fuck, I don't have any pet peeves. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. Yeah. And it just blossomed into this beautiful thing. So it's like trusting the process and just having faith. Yeah. And I'm starting because I felt it. I feel more like we're starting to operate more like a band. You know, there would be a point where like I would link up with a drummer and a good bass player, and it was like we just knew telepathically, like when we were going to switch or drop the beat, and would fall in sync with that. So you know, when Josh was flowing, talking about his client, and we mentioned pet peeves, but it didn't pick up there. I seen like fire in your eyes.
I kept trying to wedge it in. I'm like, so pet peeves,
right? And I heard Matt start talking with the fortunes and the follow up, and then it just went somewhere different. So I appreciate it. I think our listeners are going to appreciate it.
Yeah, because now they got some follow up steps to do to fill their November books,
and we got another fucking topic for next week, maybe.
If Matt doesn't have pet peeves, I've got plenty. So we'll do one next time.
Okay.
Well, and I was
the whole idea of this podcast was originally to be a fly on the wall in a tattoo shop. We just want to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of that organicness for sure.
Well, and I think we're doing it, Josh, because a lot of you listeners have been writing to tell us that they just feel like they're here in the room with us, just hanging out. And someone even wrote this week how much they appreciate just how raw we are, that it just feels like they're kicking it in our room with us, just having a normal conversation.
That was my vision for sure.
But since they don't have a microphone, they said they can't talk. So it's like by default, they're forced to show up to every podcast with an empty cup because they can't talk, you know? And I was like, that's cool.
But what you can go to Instagram and send us a message.
Exactly. I was going to say the same thing.
You might piss me off on the air.
Well, you know, ever since we answered the last ones, I don't think we've gotten any more voice messages, or have we?
I've ruined it.
Everyone's too scared now to piss Josh off. I'm just kidding.
We have. Well,
we have gotten more?
Love to hear from you.
Oh, okay. Mike says we've gotten more.
Yeah, and maybe we could do some readings from them next week if Pet Peeves 2 doesn't take place. Don't worry, listeners. I'm still going to I'll keep bringing it up, and we'll eventually have one. If there's enough to build up, we can make another episode. That'd be fun too, because I like including our listeners in on this. You know,
love it, love it, man. Awesome. I'm enjoying the journey with you boys.
Me too.
Same here, man.
Love all you listeners. Thank you guys for your faithfulness, your love, your support, your comments. Man, means the world to us. Thanks. We'll see y'all next week.
Man, what time is it? 12:14 a.m. Matt, I don't know about you, but I like coffee.
You know I do, every day, all day.
Man, and I could go for one right now. So our listeners, did you know that you can buy us a coffee?
For real?
Yeah.
Why would they do that?
Well, if you like what we do and you support our show and you appreciate our content, you can just go and click that little button that our producer Mike puts in every show and buy us a coffee, just to show your contribution that you appreciate what we do for you to help us out.
People can really buy us a coffee?
Totally.
I would be honored if you bought me a coffee.
And not only that, but we got a little spot. It's special for the VIP listeners. It's called Close Friends on Instagram. And on there you can see some behind the scenes content. And when the cameras ain't running, seeing all the shit we'd be talking about each other.
Is that true, Mike? Damn, you guys, this is the first I've heard about either of these. So they can buy you or me a coffee.
Or Mr. Carlton.
Or Mr. Carlton. And like get a sneak peek behind the scenes.
Yeah.
By doing what again?
Fucking smashing that button.
Okay. What button you talking about? I want to smash the button.
It's the button on the fucking thing.
Okay. Do it. Just do it.
Absolutely demolish the button. But thanks for your time again, and we appreciate all our listeners.
Always.